Welcome back inside the Now Morning Show. Now, it seems that the Hyatt Regency is the place to be on November 16th and 17th because apart from what's happening with ICAT, we also have the 65th Caribbean Meteorological Council having their meeting at the Hyatt Regency, and they're celebrating 50 years of the celebration of the agreement for the establishment of the Caribbean Meteorological Organization. Yes, I have with me Coordinating Director of the CMO, Dr. Arlene Lang. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. How are you doing this morning?
I'm fine, thank you.
All right. So before we get into it, give me a little bit of context and history on the Caribbean Meteorological Organization.
So the Caribbean Meteorological Organization actually originated from what was the British Caribbean Meteorological Service, established in 1951 with the headquarters here in Trinidad and Tobago. Now, when the Federation happened, that transitioned into what became the West Indies Meteorological Service. At the breakup of the Federation, the heads of governments recognized that there was still a need for regional coordination and meteorological services for the economic development and the safety and well-being of the region. So they created what was then the Caribbean Meteorological Council in 1962.
Right.
Then they then oversaw the Caribbean Meteorological Service starting in 1963. And that service recognized also the need for technical improvements, and so they established the Caribbean Meteorological Institute in 1967 in Barbados. Now, as the independence movement grew, more and more national met services were being formed, but it was recognized that there was still a need for joint coordination. And so in 1972, the heads of government and the council determined that there should be an umbrella organization that would encompass the meteorological services, the institute, and the council would still remain as the supreme body. And so in 1973, we became one of the oldest CARICOM institutions, a specialized institution.
And is specifically, is it just to monitor activities, or is it to plan, to suggest? What is the actual function of the...
We coordinate activities among 16 English-speaking member countries in matters of weather, water, and climate, and related environmental sciences. And so, for example, we develop projects that would enhance the operations of the National Meteorological Services. We have training activities. We ensure that there is a regional hurricane warning system. So we organize, and we're participating in the Hurricane Committee, which encompasses North America, Central America, and the Caribbean. We also develop projects with the World Bank, the World Meteorological Organization, to ensure that we have all the technical capabilities within the region.
Yeah, and this is ongoing work that happens all the time, right?
Yes.
So then annually, what's the purpose of the conference?
So, as I mentioned before, the council was formed as the supreme body to oversee meteorology regionally. And so each year we have a council session, which will be happening this year on the 16th and 17th. And at that conference, we have a theme this year, which is weather, water, and climate, charting a sustainable and resilient future. Because we are in an era when climate variability is extremely important. And the World Meteorological Organization, for example, recently published a report indicating that we are behind in our ability to reach those sustainable development goals, primarily because of the impact of extreme weather and climate events. And so what we do is we support the National Meteorological and Hydrometeorological Services in order for them to provide what their nations need in terms of guidance, information about weather, information about climate, so they can make better decisions. We have a number of sectors that are very sensitive to weather and climate, agriculture, transportation. On an hourly basis, there's exchange of data for aviation, for example.
All right, so then what happens during this conference? You share this information with everybody. Everybody kind of just contributes what they're bringing. Tell me the format for the...
So the council itself actually consists, it's a ministerial level council.
Right.
So each member state has a representative at the conference. And it's really, we are going to be discussing things like the UN Global Initiative, Early Warnings for All, which is within 5 years. Last year, the UN Secretary General made a call that all persons on Earth should be protected by an early warning system as a mechanism for climate mitigation and adaptation as well. And so at the meeting, we set policy. The council sets the policy. We report on the activities that the organization has been doing. Some of the things we've been doing in Trinidad and Tobago, for example, with community flood mapping, assisting the Met Service with enhancing their marine service capabilities, things like ensuring that there are strategic development plans for the Met Services in different countries, and basically a lot of coordination as well with things like civil aviation, which is one of our primary purposes. But we also have these other sectors that we support.
And you support those sectors. By end of the conference, I know that there's the 16th and 17th, which is the main meeting days for the council, but I understand there are some activities happening before, some other meetings happening before as well.
Yes. So the Caribbean Meteorological Organization is an umbrella organization with the council as the supreme body. That's a ministerial level body. But we also have, I'm at the headquarters unit, which is here in Trinidad and Tobago. And we also have the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology, which is in Barbados. And so starting on the 13th and 14th, we have the Board of Governors of the Institute. They have a meeting, and that's a closed meeting. It's dealing with a lot of technical matters because the Institute is our technical organ, and they are doing research and training and applications in hydrology and so on. And so then we have on Wednesday a meeting of the directors of the meteorological services of our 16 English-speaking countries. And at that meeting, they are discussing things like the impacts of different weather events, quality management systems for ensuring that they're following all of the compliances are being kept for the World Meteorological Organization and the International Civil Aviation Organization. And also we will have presentations during that meeting on, for example, CRIF, which is a sponsor of our celebrations of our 50th anniversary, will be doing a presentation. We have presentations from the World Meteorological Organization, and each of the member states will also describe what are some of the impacts that they've had with regard to weather.
Well, I was going to ask not just the impacts of the weather, but the impacts of the organization on the member states. What are some of the benefits? I mean, 50 years of celebration. Tell me, what are some of the benefits that the member organizations would have been able to receive?
So, as I mentioned before, we do coordinate activities. So. We would write projects. So one of the major projects that my predecessor actually implemented was the Caribbean Radar Network. This was a 13.2 million euro project that installed radars in Belize, Barbados, Trinidad, and Guyana. And also later on, a second project was done to install a radar in the Cayman Islands. And so we, as a larger umbrella organization, provide what is needed by our member states in order for them to be operationally ready.
Just want to backtrack a little bit. Those radars you're talking about, that's in marine or that's where?
No, it's on land. It's Doppler weather radars.
Doppler weather radars.
Yes.
Okay, so that helps us to be able to do what?
They allow us to be able to monitor severe weather. They extend 400 kilometers from the center. So it's as far as near shore and over land monitoring of extreme high intensity rainfall, severe weather. Those are the best tools for monitoring that kind of activity.
And I can safely say that I see the difference when it comes to our Met Office and our ODPM and the response time to being able to tell the nation what's going on with the weather, how flood, how rivers are looking, how flood, those kind of things. We've seen a definite improvement in it over the years. So I think definitely thank you for the work that you guys have been doing. Please keep it up. And thank you for joining me this morning and sharing some of it. Of course, all the best for the 16th and 17th. I know tomorrow we're going to continue the conversation because we're supposed to be having Dr. John Harding, the head of the Climate Risk and Early Warning System Secretariat, joining us on set tomorrow to continue the conversation. But thank you so much for joining us this morning,
And thank you for having me.
Not a problem. Guys, we take a quick break and we come back with more on the Now Morning Show. That was Dr. Arlene Lang, the coordinating director of the Caribbean Meteorological Organization. Stay tuned. We have a lot more in store for you.